Ladies and gentlemen, Ilhan Omar just got exposed, and America, guess what? We could be one step closer to saying goodbye once and for all. Saying goodbye to Sharia law, saying goodbye to incestuous marriages, saying goodbye to domestic terror attacks launched from within our own government by, let's face it, illegitimate foreigners whose immigration status is questionable at best. And words like final removal order and deportation would be welcome in any conversation that includes Ilhan, Omar Fateh, and others like Rashida Tlaib, and saying goodbye to city councilors from Portland, Maine, who all just refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I mean the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will take the roll.
Look, folks, I don't know about you, but if you can't stand in front of everyone and pledge your allegiance to America, then you shouldn't be allowed to hold public office, if you ask me. I mean, what country are you loyal to since you aren't loyal to us? But like I said, we'll be saying goodbye, it seems, to those whom choose to inscribe police badges in Muslim, and goodbye to the Islamic takeover. For example, like Dearborn, Michigan, where roughly 60% of the population is Muslim. They have a Muslim mayor, Abdullah Hamid, Muslim major candidate Naji Al-Mudhejji, and the mayor's Muslim chief of staff, Zainab Hussein, Muslim police chief, Issa Shahin, Muslim police commander, Madhu Bazi, who heads the patrol division, and Muslim public health director, Ali Abazid, several Muslim city council members, Kamal Al-Sawafi, Mustafa Hamoud, and Muslim city council president, Michael Serene. I may have butchered those names.
Breaking news, so let me get this straight. Dearborn, Michigan, with over 60% of the population who are Muslim, the Muslim mayor, Abdullah Hamid, the guy that's running against him, Nagi Al-Mudhejji, the mayor's chief of staff, Zainab Hussein, the police chief, Issa Shahin, who oversees the commander of the patrol division, Madhu Bazi, the public health director, Ali Abazid, and don't forget city council members, Kamal Asawafi and Mustafa Hamoud. Now residents are complaining that Islamic call to prayers are being blasted across the city. Is this what they mean by demography is destiny?
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from Islam. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
And I promise if you watch until the end, you'll know exactly how and why we may be so lucky and saying goodbye to all of this real soon. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it isn't a matter of if, but in fact, when ICE is going to start deporting Somalians. I've worked hard to pull all this together for you, and I value your time. If you like videos like these, please subscribe to my channel because it really helps out a lot. And today is October 15th, 2025, the first day of AEP. And for your free Medicare advice, call Chapter at the number you see on your screen and get the quality care you deserve. Brenda told me, thank you for the heads up on Chapter. My Medicare is great, way better than I expected. Plus, I even get a small monthly fresh fruit and veggie and or over-the-counter pharmacy voucher every month. It's a use it or lose it thing. I'll definitely be using it. Shouted you guys out. Very good stuff. Saved me $180 per month. Yeah. Now that is fantastic news. Dial 270-467-2426 now and get connected to Chapter and find out what is waiting for you. And so let's begin. And I want to show you the Democrats in total panic right now because You see, President Trump is pressuring multiple GOP-controlled states to redraw maps, and Democrats could lose 19 seats. This is a huge amount, folks. The Democrats are sweating after realizing how many potential seats Republicans will gain through redistricting efforts.
But you also don't like to fight with one arm behind your back. You wouldn't have won so many times. Do you wish other states, do you want other blue states to really think about this at this point, or think about a path forward, even if it's following the same model as California with letting people vote to do it?
Well, people have to do what their path is. It's really important to note, I thank you for your acknowledging what I have done, but this was a big plan. That is to say, in order for us to move forward, the California Democrats had to bless a plan that added 5 seats, which meant members had to give up some of their Democrats to do that. Zoe Lofgren, our chair of our caucus, and Pete Aguilar, who's the chair of the bigger caucus, they led the way on this. Zoe has just been remarkable. So our delegation had to vote for this. The state legislature, House and Senate, under the leadership of Speaker Rivas and pro tem leader of the Senate, McGuire, they then supported what we sent them. And then, of course, Gavin Newsom carried the ball down is carrying the ball down the field, and we're very proud of that. But everybody, since we're all into it, people have, you have to own the ground to win an election. So everybody has a vested interest in California in doing this. So we had a plan. If other states have a plan to do. But, we only need 3 seats to win, to make Hakeem the speaker. Understand that. So it's not a big thing. Last election, when we won 40 seats. As I said, 31 in Trump districts. When we won in 2006, we hadn't won since 1992. But we decided we had to win. And we made a decision to win. And when you make a decision to win, you make every decision in favor of winning. With House Democrats, state legislature, Governor Newsom, and now our former president of the United States the country is depending on California. It's about winning the House, but it's also about our democracy and that. But what people vote on, we save our democracy at the kitchen table. So it comes right back down to the cost of living, the cost of health care, the cost of everything that we do, whether it's for job creation and jobs and community safety and Affordable Care Act, as well as Medicaid, Medicare, all of that, helping seniors with a long-term health care. You save democracy at the kitchen table.
Big issue. People care about health care.
Actually represents pretty accurately, mathematically, how the country is divided over the question of the presidency. But if you look at this is what the party pickups would be for congressional districts. Republicans, 5. Missouri, 1. North Carolina, 1. Ohio, 2 or 3. Indiana, 1 or 2. Florida, still discussion down there, but that could be another gold mine for them if they tipped it even further their way. Kansas 1, New Hampshire 1, and Nebraska. Democrats, Utah, California, Maryland. Look at this. If you offset California and Texas, Missouri and Utah, North Carolina and Maryland, everything left over is an advantage to the Republicans. And don't forget, the Supreme Court is considering what could really be the end of the Voting Rights Act, which would protect minority groups. So you don't have a state that's half black, for example, that elects only 1 congressional member and everybody else goes to the Republicans that would represent that population in some ways. So if that is gutted, Democrats could lose 19 seats. This would be a huge amount. But this is also a measure of how much the White House is concerned about this, because Donald Trump knows if the Democrats get the House again, there could be new investigations just like last time. There could be a new impeachment. There could be a lot of impediment to these plans that right now the Republicans in the House and Senate are letting run like a freight train.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the Democrats rely heavily on illegals to pad their numbers when it comes time to cast votes. Election rigging must be a Democrat policy, and perhaps maybe the only one that they have. And it has gotten so bad that there are deranged leftists in states like California who registered their dog to vote and cast multiple ballots on their behalf.
What you're looking at is a 2020 voter registration form obtained by NBC4 for Maya Jean Yorix of Costa Mesa. But this is a photo of Maya Jean Yorix, a boxer breed, who allegedly voted in 2 elections after Orange County prosecutors say her owner, 62-year-old Laura Yorix, registered her dog and cast her ballots. Laura Yorix's attorneys say she self-reported her alleged actions to the Registrar of Voters in October.
Laura Yorix sincerely regrets her unwise attempt to expose flaws in our state voting system, intending to improve it by demonstrating that even a dog can be registered to vote.
Maya has since passed away. Her voting record shows the dog's vote in the California 2021 gubernatorial election to recall Gavin Newsom was successfully counted. The Orange County District Attorney's Office confirms the dog's vote in the 2022 primary election ballot was rejected.
It has just been revealed that a dog successfully voted in a recent election in California. The dog received a ballot in the mail and successfully cast that ballot, and indeed, even after the dog died, continued to receive a ballot in the mail. Now, the owner has now been charged by the Orange County District Attorney's Office for illegally registering her dog to vote, but she probably would have got away with it if she hadn't posted a photo of her dog on social media wearing an I voted sticker. So the individual here has been charged with a number of felonies for perjury, for procuring or offering a false or forged document, 2 felony counts of casting a ballot when not entitled to vote, 1 felony count of registering a non-existent person to vote. Just to be clear, dogs are not actually allowed to vote in California. And yet in this case, the animal did. So the question we have to ask, Mr. Speaker, is how in the world do we have so few safeguards on our electoral process in California that such a thing could ever happen? I have proposed common sense solutions to this problem, requiring voter ID and passing the SAVE Act here in Congress to require proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Because while this is obviously a crazy example, a lot of people in our state lack trust in the integrity of our electoral process, especially when laws are passed year after year after year in the legislature, where now ballots are automatically sent to every registered voter, and those ballots continue to go out often when the voter has left the state or when the voter is no longer with us, where there is no proof of ID in order to register to vote or actually to vote, when registration is done automatically when one gets their driver's license, and where in recent years ballot harvesting laws have been passed where you don't even have to submit your ballot yourself, but someone could just come to your door and grab it for you. I think it is past time that we have reforms to our electoral process in California, and frankly, nationwide as well. I've discussed my opposition to partisan gerrymandering, and in addition to stopping this redistricting war right now going on, I believe that by the time we have the next round of scheduled redistricting, we need to end gerrymandering once and for all in this country. And I think perhaps there's a bargain that can be struck to have legislation that will protect the fairness of elections across America by instituting universal voter ID while ending gerrymandering once and for all. I believe that will restore fairness in American elections, and our democracy will be much better off for it.
But I wish I could say that that is the craziest extent of it all, but sadly, no, it's not. And so you see, in this clip here, watch and listen. This man, he's been here 10 years and driving an up to 80,000 pound gross vehicle weight semi-truck for 8 years, but still hasn't learned English. But now he's upset he can't renew his CDL so he can send money back home to his family in India.
Last week, Vivek Sharma went to the DMV to renew his trucking license, but he was denied. The problem? New rules surrounding the process. As he explains in Hindi, only green card holders and U.S. citizens can get their commercial driver's license renewed. Sharma's been in the U.S. legally for the past 10 years, seeking political asylum. His final court case is next year. He's been driving a truck for the past 8 years, but now he can't. अब क्या करेंगे आप?
अभी क्या कुछ local job देखेंगे?
When asked what comes next, he says he's worried. Trucking paid well. The sudden stop in income means he won't have money to send back to his family in India. Now he will have to start over. The U.S. Department of Transportation issued emergency rules that require the DMV to stop issuing commercial driver's licenses, or CDLs, to drivers who are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Even those with legal work visas, like Sharma, will be denied. It says it's doing so to improve traffic safety and close loopholes in the law.
Maybe instead of sending our money to another country, DHS should send this illegal tractor trailer driver back home to India where he belongs. But what do you guys think? And while you're typing your opinions in the comments, tell me what you think about this liberal woman breaking down in tears after her mother was deported for being in the United States illegally for 30 years.
We can stop if you want. Stop. Look at this fascist right here.
That's her. It's her.
I'm so sorry to be the one to show you this picture of your mother. What's it like for you to see her there with her ponytail and her backpack and her pink sweatpants talking to these guys with guns and masks and their bulletproof vests?
I mean, based off her facial expression, she looks ready to cry. And that saddens me because she just wanted to go to the store. She was going to make some albóndigas, which is basically a meatball stew.
I mean, come on. Seriously? Spare me the crocodile waterworks. She had 30 years to become legal. What could possibly be a legitimate excuse for this? Goodbye. But not all who are here without documentation and have crossed the border illegally get shown the exit and are sent packing and get deported back to their home place of origin. Watch as a woman walks out of the ICE check-in center in San Antonio, Texas. Translation: she admits to being in the country illegally by crossing the southern border, and she's happy because ICE just handed her a 1.5-year extension on her parole and is free to stay in America.
¿Cómo le fue hoy? ¿Cómo le fue hoy? No escucha ella trabaja para Trump. ¿Le dieron extensión?
Sí, ya, todo bien.
¿Cuántos años más?
Para 1 año y medio.
¿Un año y medio? ¿Vino por CBP-1?
No.
¿Se entregó? ¿De qué país?
Honduras.
Honduras. All right, gracias por la entrevista. Do not get in my way, lady.
And they know asylum applications serve as a common loophole, delaying deportation while enabling work permits after 150 days. USCIS, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, placed a pause on parole extensions, which courts stayed this summer. And this case underscores rising tensions between humanitarian parole programs and calls for stricter border controls. The post has gone viral and garnered 183,000 views and widespread criticism. And speaking of the Lone Star State, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says he's uncovered illegal activities by the jihadist developers of the Epic City Sharia compound in Texas. He says his investigation shows clear evidence that the developers who built Epic City flagrantly and undeniably violated the law.
Regardless of what happens in the leadership race, are you certain that you will run for re-election in 2020? Yeah. You are?
Yeah. Do you think the Texas... I mean, God willing.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. Senator, what does it cost?
Inshallah.
What does...
Meanwhile, Senator John Cornyn is saying, Inshallah, as jihadists continue to take over Texas with Sharia compounds and Sharia enforcement. Describing himself as proudly representing Texas in the U.S. Senate, lifelong conservative, fighting for Texas values and border security with 99% voting record with President Trump. And just a couple weeks ago, Muslims in Texas were caught on camera taking over the prayer room at the airport in Dallas by barring a Christian. And they were also caught on camera walking door to door to Texas businesses, threatening them to be Sharia adherent by banning all haram products. Now, keep this in mind, folks, when you head to the polls for the 2026 Texas GOP Senate primary. I wonder what Texans' position on Islam is. Do you believe Islam is incompatible with Western civilization? Do they want the epic Sharia compound to be banned on a federal level? Should the government commit to surveilling jihadi mosques? Asking for a friend. Because that's what's going to matter when we're fighting to save Western civilization. Which brings us right back around to Minnesota. Ilhan, Omar Fateh, and Governor Tim Walz.
Heard, the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture has talked about this, Republican senators. I mean, there's consensus now. What they're floating as the solution, which is what they did in 2018, the last time a trade war China's initiated, they cut off soybean purchases, and there was basically like welfare checks. There was a bailout, and it was just, they took the cash and they sent checks out, which just seems like an insane thing to me, to kill people's markets and then replace it with checks. I don't even know if you can make people whole, but do you think that works? Like politically, does that sort of ease the pain, I guess?
No. Well, look, I do believe this. Our folks want markets. They don't want these bailouts. This is a short-term fix. Like I said, this is going to be year after year after year. The irony of this whole thing is, and I continue to say this, of all of Donald Trump's failures and the biggest myth, that this guy understands business. He's an absolute abject failure at business. And this whole policy around this is a failure. And the only way to get off this is to let the markets go back. And the irony, again, is calling Democrats socialist when I am begging for free markets here to allow capitalism to work and allow our markets to go. Donald Trump is the one with government interference and the damage that he's doing. Again, he is strengthening China. He's strengthening, Argentina, make Argentina great again. I guess they can just switch the hats. I don't know.
And so, folks, Governor Walz is entitled to his opinion, and so is MSDNC's Rachel Maddow lookalike clone, who I guess is trying to appeal to the failed network's trans demographic, I would assume. But we all know the real story. And the God's honest truth is President Trump is a wildly successful businessman, and even more so successful as a two-term president of this great nation. But here's where Tim Walz's slander and lies come to an abrupt stop and clash with his buffoonery, reaching a new high and level of insanity that I never dreamed imaginable. And so you remember how we talked about illegals here in America driving truck, putting U.S. citizens at risk, and to take our money and send it to India? Oh, and how these illegals are the Democrats' Willy Wonka golden ticket of sorts to artificially inflate their votes at the polls, assuming they can ward off DHS and ICE agents come election time. Well, I hope you're sitting down for this one, because Tampon Tim himself has just done the unthinkable, and he has no shame in admitting it. And Tim Walz just signed a new driver's licenses for all law, which allows illegal aliens to obtain free government-issued photo IDs. Now, Minnesota election officials confirmed that illegal aliens can vote in state elections using those very same driver's licenses. But wait, I was told this can't happen.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
So we give driver's licenses to anyone here. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to, which is a photo ID. Okay, so the answer to my question is yes. Under that scenario, someone could, they get their driver's license, again, because we give them to anybody here. They register to vote, It doesn't match with the social security number, so they're flagged, but they come in as long as they have an ID, which is that driver's license, and they sign that they're, eligible to vote, they can vote. And they're then no longer flagged. They're on the system. Is that correct?
Mr. Linnell.
Madam Chair, if I could add and maybe stepping back from those that are flagged as CID on the roster, for anyone that's presenting documentation to register to vote, that is affirmation of their identity. The driver's license has not been used as proof of citizenship for the purposes of registering to vote. It's affirming that they are who they say they are. So
Right.
in any of these cases where someone were to cast a ballot if they were ineligible to vote, there are also reports that are generated post-election for voters that are challenged that counties will run to show status of voters that had been updated due to the fact that they've now cast a ballot that can be reviewed and referred to the county attorney.
Okay, so the answer is yes to my question. So if someone comes in, they register, they have the driver's license, but they have an incorrect social or no social or whatever, so then they become incomplete. But if they walk in to vote with their driver's license, does that make them all of a sudden now okay?
Mr. Linnell.
Madam Chair, so the designation on the roster for someone whose registration had been incomplete, if they present the election judge with that acceptable identification document, that would clear the challenge from the roster and they would be permitted to cast a ballot.
Mr. Anderson.
Well, okay, there's your problem potentially. So thank you.
So just to clarify, someone who is not a citizen but presents a driver's license at that point in the process could be permitted to vote.
Madam Chair, at the time of registration, as well as at the time of submitting a ballot, every voter is signing the attestation affirming their eligibility to vote, including that they meet all eligibility requirements, that they are a U.S. citizen.
The government issued driver's licenses don't even have names on them half the time, and they are simply issued to no name given. How on earth is this even a logical reality that we're living in right now? I mean, this has to be a simulation, or at least in Minnesota, it seems to be. Sadly, this is all too real, fact and not fiction. But wait, there's more. Wake up, Minnesota. Ilhan Omar has officially endorsed Omar Fateh, the Democratic Socialists of America-backed candidate for mayor of Minneapolis. The election is just 20 some odd days away.
Well, I'm excited to announce that I will be supporting Senator Fateh for the mayor of the city of Minneapolis.
Our Congresswoman, who I'm really excited to have her support.
And with that, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar put her stamp of approval on a grateful State Senator Omar Fateh, who envisions a city that is more equal.
Minneapolis seems to be a tale of two cities, one for the wealthy and the well-connected, and the rest of everyone else.
The Congresswoman believes the 35-year-old senator, a Democratic socialist, can lead with a progressive agenda.
I have trust in the senator's track record that he will find a way to make sure that we have ordinances, legislation that is passing through that speaks to the desires and the needs of the residents of the city.
Fateh's run has not been entirely smooth. He is being accused of campaign violations for continuing to use the term DFL endorsed on his campaign signs. The state DFL rescinded the endorsement after convention irregularities surfaced and declined to make an endorsement of anyone else. Fateh says he is benefiting from a backlash.
People stop me and they tell me that we're really hurt and upset by what happened with the DFL taking back the endorsement.
Fateh continues to deny questions about any ethical missteps, including when he fast-tracked a housing bill without disclosing his wife's alleged business ties to the project.
It was not a finance bill. It was not to benefit my wife or anyone. It was a program integrity bill.
Representative Omar knows both Senator Fateh and Mayor Fry well. She says it's Fateh who is best suited to bring the warring factions at City Hall together. Fateh points to his work on expanding access to opioid detection strips, free college for low-income students, and a deal to keep Uber and Lyft drivers in the Twin Cities as examples of how he can work with different sides. For Jacob Fry, not getting a Representative Omar endorsement is nothing new. He's won the mayor's race twice without it. With photojournalists Louis Carpel and Nick Luneman, Esme Murphy, WCCO News.
Somali Congresswoman Ilhan Omar endorses Omar Fateh, a pro-Sharia law and socialist candidate for Minneapolis mayor. Violent Somali Muslims are invading Minnesota, and Minneapolis now has the largest Somali population in America. But Don Keith asked a damn good question. Why do Somalians all look like they have the same dad? But more on what is happening in Minnesota, like, for instance, how the United States is risking a huge catastrophe by ignoring what is happening in Minnesota right now. And I want you all to watch this. It looks like Somalia, but it's Minnesota, right here in America. But it could easily be mistaken for the exact same mistakes that were made, the exact same mistake that Europe made. Yes, folks, you heard that right. And you all just watched a rally in Minneapolis where Somali American supporters chanted Allah Akbar while endorsing State Senator Omar Fateh's Democratic Socialist bid for mayor. Evidence of unchecked immigration eroding American identity. America is becoming unrecognizable. The rally wasn't in English. It wasn't American. It was a foreign language political ceremony to crown Omar Fateh, a Somali American Muslim and Democratic Socialist, as Minneapolis's next mayor. His platform is straight out of the Marxist playbook, and this includes to freeze rent, $20 minimum wage, free transit, and single-payer health care. Abolish fossil fuels, sanctuary for abortion and gender transitions. That one really took me for a loop. Tax hikes on the middle class backed by DSA, CPUSA, SEIU, Sunrise Movement, and something called Our Revolution. But make no mistake, this is no local race. It's an ideological invasion. Islamic Marxism is spreading city by city under the radar, and they're not here to represent America. They're here to replace it. Minnesota's Somali community, the largest in the U.S. at around almost 100,000 since the 1990s refugee resettlements, continues to spark debates on assimilation, with Fateh's campaign highlighting their growing political clout via endorsements and backing from Representative Ilhan Omar and others. Wall Street Mav doubles down on calls for ICE deportations to target visa holders and protected status recipients. But this will come as a shock to you, as I know it did me as I read it, but data from the Migration Policy Institute shows over 70% of Somali Minnesotans are now U.S. citizens, limiting feasibility without major policy shifts. And as the Post reads and asks, when is ICE going to start deporting Somalians? Revoke any protected status they have, cancel their visas, deport as many as possible. Well, President Trump's working on it. I can assure you, folks.
Trump administration has revoked the visas of at least 50 politicians and government officials in Mexico as part of its crackdown against drug cartels and their suspected political allies. According to Reuters, the politicians and officials are members of the country's ruling Morena party headed by Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, along with dozens from other parties. Their names haven't been publicly confirmed, but at least 4 officials have acknowledged losing visas. A State Department official did not confirm the report, but said that visas can be revoked for a variety of reasons that violate U.S. law and other activities that run contrary to America's national interest. The official emphasized that visas are a privilege, not a right. Also, the official telling Fox News Digital that the Trump administration has had a good working relationship with the Sheinbaum government and looks forward to continuing to advance its bilateral relationship in support of the America First foreign policy agenda. The Trump administration has taken a zero-tolerance approach to drug trafficking, which is a key presidential campaign promise, and several suspected drug boats on their way to the U.S. have been struck by the U.S. military, many of which were alleged to have come from Venezuela. Last month,
First, the Mexican cartels, and next, the radical Somalians, I would assume. The Trump administration has just revoked the visas of 50 Mexican politicians and government officials. They are cracking down on the cartel influence in America. This is common sense. And go on ahead. Like if you agree, but as I was saying, Omar Fateh's endorsement and backing, I came across this article that serves as a fawning endorsement of socialist candidate for Minneapolis Mayor Omar Fateh. But ironically, the Soros-backed Minnesota reformer conveniently failed to mention some key facts about Fateh's past. And while they did mention he was investigated for running his Senate campaign out of a daycare for free, they neglected to mention that the daycare was part of a fraud ring so egregious the state actually did something and suspended their license. Ironically, this was reported by Dina Winter while she worked for the reformer in 2022, but they don't even link to their own article covering the same daycare. I wonder why. Oh, and that daycare company, by the way, may have had their license temporarily suspended in 2022, then again in 2023, and again in 2025 as part of a final agency decision, but they still managed to receive nearly $250,000 in fiscal year 2025. Did Fateh know about this funding? Did he email agencies to make sure the money kept flowing in? Honestly, who knows? But the reformer sure won't ask those questions now, will they? But speaking of questions and answers, watch as during this debate, Omar Fateh was asked 5 times whether he would clear a homeless encampment even after a shooting. This should come as no surprise, but his final answer, no. Here, have a look.
When, if ever, would you clear an encampment? Is it when it reaches a certain size, when people are offered services and shelter and they refuse it after a certain amount of time? Is it when violence breaks out?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
The question, though, specifically is about, are there conditions in which you would actually move forward with clearing an encampment?
So 2 things to that.
I didn't hear an actual answer to the question, though. Is there any condition in which you would eventually say we have to clear this encampment? So you named a time when there was violence at one. Is that still not a place where you would say, no, we need to shut this down? So the answer is no, there's not a situation.
There will not be a situation.
Let's be clear. This is a place where 7 people got shot. And so, do we clear the homeless encampment for the safety of the people there and the surrounding neighborhood? Absolutely we do. This was a crime scene. There were bullet casings all over the place. You know, as mayor, you don't just deal with these situations as hypotheticals. I was out there at 1:30 in the morning to deal with the circumstances of this particular case. And so after all of that, to still say that you should keep the encampment in place is just wrong.
Omar Fateh is running for Minneapolis mayor with plans to raise the minimum wage over the next few years, freeze rent, and Trump-proof the city from ICE. But we already have evidence of how this not only doesn't work, but causes so much harm as a result. And this may very well be the most important part of this video. So please pay close attention, because I've seen how these kinds of policies play out in other places, and they often hit harder than folks expect. And I'll keep it straightforward. So first off, that push to jack up the minimum wage in just a few years may sound great on paper for putting more cash in workers' pockets, but we've got a textbook example of how these big leaps backfire big time. Take California a couple years back. They bumped fast food wages to $20 an hour in 2024, a solid $4 jump overnight for chains like McDonald's. Franchise owners, who are mostly small business folks running a handful of spots, just got slammed with higher labor costs they couldn't just eat. And so what happened? Well, they hiked menu prices right away. Think your Big Mac or Happy Meal creeping up to like $20. But it didn't stop there. To keep things afloat, they cut worker hours across the board. So some employees ended up with less take-home pay than before, even at the higher rate. I mean, it's always funny to me seeing how people like Tim Walz and now Omar, who have harsh criticisms for successful businessmen like President Trump, want to meddle with business, but don't know the first thing about how businesses work and operate because they have never done it themselves before. Businesses like Wendy's and Pizza Hut laid off delivery drivers or closed locations altogether, hurting local jobs and the economy. Consumers were all paying more for that quick burger, which squeezes families already stretched thin. One McDonald's franchise put it bluntly: I can't charge $20 for a Happy Meal. It's a ripple effect, folks. Good intention, sure, but it ends up pinching everyone, from the owners to the line cooks to the drive-through customers. Then there's the rent freeze idea. I get the appeal. Who doesn't hate seeing their rent spike? But freezing rents is like telling landlords, hey, cover all your rising costs, but good luck passing any of it on. I mean, especially the mom and pop landlords, the everyday folks who own a duplex or a small building to supplement their retirement or pay their own bills. These aren't big corporations. They're regular people scraping by on thin margins. Studies show rent controls like this lead to landlords skimping on maintenance because they can't recoup the costs. Think leaky roofs or broken heaters going unfixed. Worse, it shrinks the overall rental supply. Small owners convert units to condos or just sell off because it's not worth the hassle, leaving fewer available options for everyone else. Tenants might win short term with stable bills, but long term, higher rents elsewhere, crappier buildings, and less housing popping up because, let's face it, no one's incentivized to build more. It's basically forcing those little guys to subsidize everyone else's lease, even though tenants signed up knowing rents could adjust. Not fair to them, and it doesn't fix the root problem of not enough homes. And the Trump-proof the city from ICE nonsense? Look, that's basically code for doubling down on sanctuary city policies, limiting how much local cops and officials cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, and it means ignoring ICE detainer requests to hold folks for deportation checks or flat out banning city resources from helping with raids. Proponents say it's about trust and safety for immigrant communities, but I mean, let's be honest here, folks. Critics and real-world fallout call it a magnet for unchecked illegal immigration. It lets people skirt federal laws on borders, leading to more strain on local services, schools, and hospitals without accountability. We've seen it spark chaos, overcrowded shelters, higher crime rates in some spots because folks won't report issues, fearing deportation blowback, and just plain disorder when cities become de facto open border zones. Trump-proofing isn't protection. It's inviting a flood that overwhelms everything, and we sure as heck don't want that mess here in America. But Minneapolis and Minnesota, Watch out, folks. I know I'd rather focus on legal paths, strong borders, and keeping our neighborhoods stable for everybody. But the bottom line is these plans might feel like quick fixes, but they end up costing us all more in the long run. Higher prices, fewer jobs, rundown rentals, and unnecessary drama. But what do you think? Got any personal stories to share? And like I said, I want to keep my promise and show you how Ilhan Omar just got exposed and how America, we could be one step closer to saying goodbye once and for all. And we must thank Elon Musk for this. The latest update. X will soon display users' country of origin on their public profiles. Twitter will start rolling out a feature that shows the country a user is from. RIP to all the bots. RIP to Ilhan Omar, who I would imagine gets a Somali flag next to her username. Granted, this isn't enough to send her packing yet. But I want you all to check this out. Please watch this video showing all the fake engagement Omar Fateh gets on TikTok. And if you go through all the posts and comments, over 80% of them are just fake accounts of non-Minneapolis people. And so you see, this campaign is going nowhere. America is pushing back. Minneapolis and Minnesota are pushing back. We don't want Sharia. We don't want Allah Akbar. We don't want Omar Fateh, and we damn sure don't want Ilhan Omar. Nobody likes Tim Walz. And President Trump, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, and Benny Johnson, and so many others are working hard to get these folks out and keep them out of our country and our elections. Thank you for your attention to this matter.